Did you know that Easter was originally a Mesopotamian holiday for fertility? No? I'm an Assyriologist and I didn't either. Like, subscribe, come along for the ride. A few years ago, there was a meme making the rounds on Facebook. I can't remember when exactly, but the earliest reference I can find to it is 2013. So let's go with that. It proclaimed, with the confidence felt by those who have no earthly clue what they're talking about, that the Christian religious holiday of Easter was originally the celebration of the Mesopotamian goddess Ishtar. Excuse me, Easter. Because for some weird reason, experts on the goddess insist on both writing and pronouncing her name incorrectly. But I digress. The meme helpfully explains the connection between the goddess and the holiday, pointing out Ishtar's role as a fertility goddess, debatable, and her well-known symbols of the egg and the rabbit. What? Seems reasonable, right? No. I'm here to tell you as an Assyriologist and as someone who wrote her entire master's thesis on the goddess Ishtar in the New Assyrian period, that most of that is utter bullshit. You may ask why I'm bothering to debunk a meme that's so old. Well, partly because I can, and partly because this misinformation is still being used to explain the Mesopotamian origins of Easter. If it's still being used, then it still needs correcting. First, her name. It is, to the best reckoning of academics brighter than myself, pronounced Ishtar, not Easter. Second, her status as a fertility goddess. Now, the meme does get her association with sex 100% correct. Well done! However, she's really only tangentially a fertility goddess. This is where it gets a little complex. The goddess referred to as Ishtar is a northern, somewhat late deity who is syncretized with a variety of other similar goddesses, including the southern, earlier goddess named Inanna. Now, Inanna did have a fertility connection and was strongly associated with storehouses and the abundance of crops. Ishtar, however, has very little to do with fertility, vegetable, animal, or human. One version of the myth, Ishtar's descent to the underworld, does show that while she is imprisoned in the underworld, animal and human copulation ceases, which does suggest a fertility connection, but typically she's much more concerned with sex. If you do a little digging on the internet, you may find reference to a sacred marriage ritual in which the king and the high priestess of the goddess copulate in order to ensure an abundance of crops and livestock in the coming year. Pretty fitting for a fertility deity, right? Unfortunately, whether this ritual actually happened is highly debated. Most of the texts mentioning any kind of sexual relationship between the king and Ishtar are literary, and therefore shouldn't be considered a smoking gun. There is better evidence for sacred marriages taking place between two deities, when the cult statues of a god and a goddess spent the night together. But I can't find any instance in which Ishtar is in this particular ritual. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, just I can't find any evidence for it. While fertility isn't a particularly important aspect of Ishtar, sex is. Sex is one of Ishtar's primary realms of interest, as can be seen in many mythological and literary texts that involve her, and also from her association with prostitutes. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, Ishtar is so enamored with the titular hero that she propositions him, only to turn nasty when he refuses her, and try to destroy him with the Bull of Heaven. Despite her voracious sexual appetites, the conception of children is not mentioned. Exceptions to this can be seen in the New Assyrian period, when Ishtar is described as the mother who bore me, i.e. the king. However, this is more of a comment on the king's status as a mortal with a special relationship to the divine than an indication of Ishtar's status as a fertility deity. If you want an actual Mesopotamian mother goddess, then you're much better off looking at Ninmah or Nintu. If sex is one of Ishtar's primary associations, then her other is highly destructive. She's the goddess of warfare, and as such is capricious, vindictive, and generally speaking, not someone you want to mess with. She's the one who wields weapons, who orders the battle array, the star of the battle cry, who can make brothers who have lived in harmony fight each other. She tries to stage a coup and take control of the underworld, and she tries to kill the hero Gilgamesh, as I said previously, for his refusal to marry her. The artistic record also makes her destructive tendencies clear, as the majority of depictions of Ishtar show her as a warrior, carrying more bladed weapons than is really necessary for any one person. Finding instances of Ishtar in a motherly or fertility role is akin to finding a needle in a haystack. However, finding examples of her destructive nature is like finding sand at the beach. Third, and finally, is the somewhat unusual connection of Ishtar, rabbits, and eggs, which is, as far as I can tell, completely fabricated to make for a more compelling connection to Easter. Ishtar's symbols are actually the lion and the star, or rosette. She's described as Magnificent One, lioness among the Igigi, and Mesopotamian iconography shows her accompanied by lions on a pretty regular basis. She's also understood to be the Venus star, but that doesn't help with the Ishtar-Easter connection, so I guess it got overlooked. Oh, and as a bonus, the identity of the goddess on this plaque is actually a debated topic. It may be Ishtar, yes, but it may also be her sister and goddess of the underworld, Ereshkigal. Thanks for watching, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in Mesopotamian religion, literature, mythology, this is probably the channel for you. Take a look, I'm sure you'll find something you like.